Hi everyone, welcome to the W and thanks for joining us. I'm Michaela O'Donnell and I'll be your host today. The first time I watched Glean, I was really compelled by Nicole's story. It's clear that she is a woman who sees opportunities others don't and is working to faithfully address the needs of her community. Plus, the story feels like such an important commentary on the pure dignity and goodness of work. This is why I'm so excited to have the filmmaker of Glean, Aria Swarr, with us on the W today. Hi Aria.
Hello, Michaela.
How are you?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad to talk with you today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
And I love the story of Glean. I love Nicole. She's so sort of captivating, and she didn't necessarily start out thinking she'd be an entrepreneur or even in the cleaning industry. It felt like she found that work along the way as she deeply listened to the people that she felt called to serve. This figure it out along the way, like listening mentality, actually rubs up against a lot of common narratives we have about vocation.
Yeah, I definitely relate to what you're talking about in terms of, I think, especially in Christian circles, this idea of calling or the one thing we're supposed to do. I thought for sure I had one path and I was going to, win an Oscar by the time I was 27, be married at 23. I had all these goalposts that were so ridiculously specific of what a successful life looked like. Sometimes we think of, our calling as a job. And I was thinking about this. How do we apply all of God's calling to our lives, not just that passion, individual type of approach to what a vocation can be?
I love that, Aria. There's so many just amens about what you just said. At the core of the Glean story, it really is the theme, the dignity of work, the goodness and power that the labor of our hands can have. And in that, I was really struck and loved how she emphasized not presuming what anyone in any space, especially the in-between space, needs, but instead providing a pathway through work that helps them meet their own needs.
I mean, it's definitely a theme in everything that Nicole is doing through how she created the whole structure of her business. There's dignity in not trying to solve someone else's story for them, letting them figure out how they want to meet their needs. And I think that's what she's doing by providing economic opportunity for people, is that they can then meet their own needs. And I think it's a way of really handing back the authority to another person, saying, you know what's best for you. And I think counselors are especially good at knowing how to do that. So maybe that's one reason why she's so good at applying that to her business.
So in the age of COVID, it seems like certain types of work have moved into the spotlight. We now understand the essential nature of grocery store clerks, the Amazon delivery driver, childcare workers, and cleaning professionals. Aria, can you talk a bit about how Glean invites us to widen our perspective and to notice the work and workers who sometimes society has made to feel invisible?
Yeah, we can't take the invisible jobs for granted at all. And actually that just brings to mind, when we were filming, I was holding the camera on the street, aimed at Nicole, trying to get this beautiful shot with the light just right. And then a truck pulls up right where I'm wanting to shoot, and it's a trash truck, and the guy gets out and is making all this noise, and all I'm thinking is, you're ruining my shot, right? And she looks over and she says, thank God he's doing that job for us. I was valuing my work over that in that moment. This is a public space, so that's her approach to, I think, every role like that. She's able to see and value each person in the role that they're contributing to the whole system that we're a part of, right? I was really humbled and inspired by, just a simple comment like that.
There's an invitation to, sort of see all work regardless of whether it's been historically visible or invisible, whether someone gets paid a ton of money or not much, but to really see it as important. Aria, did you get a sense as to, what were the faith motivations or how that faith kind of played out in Nicole's work and in her starting Glean?
I definitely did, in the longer interview that didn't make it into the piece, hear her talk about the role of her church and her pastor in that transition of deciding to start the company. She said that her pastor had encouraged her and called her out and said, you're an entrepreneur. and encouraged her to take that step, which was a big risk to transition from her previous work. So I think that really inspired her to have confidence, and it's often rare to receive that kind of encouragement from leadership to take a big risk.
We all need people who see us and encourage us, especially in those risky moments. Like, you might have a great idea, it might be a small risk, a giant risk, like, not to underestimate the power of having community who sees us and invites us into those risks. Thank you so much, Aria, for the stories that you're telling, and especially for the honoring, dignifying way that you're doing it.
Thank you for appreciating this story, and I'm also grateful just to be on the W Show, and thank you to Windwriter for bringing us together so that we could have this opportunity to learn and grow. Really appreciate it.
And to all of you watching, thanks for joining the conversation. I'm Michaela O'Donnell, and we look forward to seeing you again soon on the W.